just delete that. Not cut. Delete. The difference. Is there a difference? Yes, there is. Oh, okay, okay. I know I do. I've been faking it for years. Yeah, sea cleaner. Are you going to do you did the product Tom recommended? No. Revo does a better job. Revo. Oh, I would use sea cleaner for that. Not working. Not working. Not working.
What is it? Oh, Bonjour is an Apple thing. What's this? Connection. Went in pretty recently. What is that?
I don't know. Just don't go wholesale and uninstall it because you could hurt yourself.
Well, that's why I'm looking at these carefully. That's all the in-account stuff.
Hey, Frank. How's it going? I don't know. Oh, man, you're here. That's a good point.
You know, they've been talking about everybody's got to fix the sidewalks, and they came up with this list of 200 people, 200 houses. Well, yesterday I saw a company that is on the list that went around and checked to see that everybody needed to have their sidewalk replaced, and they were knocking on doors and talking to people. And I would think they got to get a contract, wouldn't you? To fix the sidewalk.
Not of the individual. They have to get a contract with the individual owner if they want to do it.
Well, they want to see the homeowner association. On the October 10th, they wrote the thing that said that everybody had to fix the sidewalk in front of their house.
Uh-huh.
And so they came up with this list, and then they said that everybody needs to fix their sidewalk, and if they don't have it fixed by sometime in the first part of next year, they'll be sending out demand letters then, but they expect you to fix it now.
Yeah,
And
that's
so-
reasonable. That's reasonable. But your lawyer tell you it's not legal.
Yeah, the lawyer told me it's not legal.
Give it to the lawyer.
I have, and he hasn't answered me yet.
Then ask him, can he refer to somebody else that's not illegal?
I don't know why he doesn't want to answer, because he's the one that told me that it was illegal.
He may have been bullshitting.
Huh?
He could have been bullshitting. Check with somebody.
Well, see, if it affected me, I would even hire a lawyer.
Right, but
You know?
you're part of that homeowners group that deals with associations.
Yeah?
Check with them.
Oh, their lawyer, no. In fact, on the internet, on the message board, there was something that they had discussed this with their lawyer. The HOA. With the HOA lawyer.
Of course, their lawyer's going to tell them anything you want to hear. I'm
Yeah.
saying you run a interested third party on your side.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to find out if anybody has the balls to get a lawyer to find out that they shouldn't do it.
Well, not a question of laws, it's a question of machine, the lawyer.
I mean, you're looking at, the quotes are between $400 to $1,000.
Not cheap.
No.
two sewer lines that's running down. If either one of them breaks, it's gonna collapse the driveway. And we thought one of them had broken at one point in time, because something moved, okay? And I went and got 3 bids, $36,000 was the middle bid. One was 42, one was 31, and one was 36.
Well, I'll tell you the thing that upsets me is, I told you about that, I got 3 demand letters that were totally wrong and illegal, one of them. And I looked up on on our website about deed restrictions. There's a deed restriction that says that you can only have one advertising sign in your front yard, and that's to sell your house or to rent it, and it can't be more than, 2.5 feet by 3 feet. Standard sign, right? Says that in a deed restriction. And then there's another deed restriction says that you cannot have any other flag, a flag, a U.S. flag, or a military flag. Well, I mean, we've got people with Texas A&M flags, and UT flags, and you're missing my point. My point is that they're willing to come after me because I'm an asshole. So the illegal things, but they're not willing to go where, I mean, they're willing to spend 40 or 50 signs the election this past week that people had up in the yard. Totally illegal. And the management company, guess what? Money for sending out, and they're not sending them out, obviously.
The political signs might get by with under the First Amendment. Okay?
Yeah, maybe that's.
No matter, I wouldn't touch the political signs. But after the election's over, they go down.
But the deed restrictions say that you can only have 400%.
I can stand that. But the First Amendment will probably cover elect Joe Blow mayor. All right, but after Joe Blow, of your election for Joe Blow and the mayor are over with, that sign's got to go. Then it's a violation.
The other thing I was saying, I'm surprised it's a legal U.S. flag. It's the Black Lives Matter flag. You know what I'm talking about? All the stripes are black. They're not white. You think it is?
Yeah. It's not a U.S. flag. That's an affectation of someone's political views.
And I wondered if all those that are up in the neighborhood, if those are blacks that live in the neighborhood. I mean, I wouldn't put one up with you.
Must be Nigerians.
Yeah. Boy. I don't know. I mean, I'm a political nut and been elected 9 times to office at various places. And, I mean, I cannot handle it. And my wife thinks I'm a disgusting guy. And,
Disgusting guy.
yeah, because I'm always looking at the wrong and what's not right.
Oh, you're half empty, those are half full. That's cynic.
Huh?
Cynic. Yeah, you're cynical. You're cynic.
Well, I don't know if I'm
He's a
cynical. I look at every little thing and I see what's wrong.
He's an
Yeah,
engineer.
I understand, and nobody looks at every little thing.
He's an engineer.
Yeah.
He's a perfectionist.
Yeah, that's right. It's just the same thing that frustrates me is, I've probably written and read maybe 100 to 200 technical documents and specifications, stuff like that, and sat in meetings where they, discuss why did you write that sentence and all that kind of stuff. And I read some of this stuff on the internet, and I wonder, I don't even know what they're talking about sometimes, And
Certainly can't believe what you see on the internet.
I wonder
wide open garbage.
what school these guys go to that wrote this stuff.
Oh, we had a black, a young black girl. She's gonna be good.
Oh. Can't use that word.
No,
There's got to be.
Bigger and bigger, really good.
Oh.
I used to work with such.
You got to say non-white. Got to say non-white.
Anyway, she wrote this paper, and she asked me to proofread it. And I just started circling, she said, what are you doing? I said, girlfriend. Keisha was in it. Anyway, I pushed it back to her, I said, you're supposed to be presenting a master of business MBA.
mean, to me, like if I buy one, I convert my VHSs, I no longer need it. I'm thinking you the same way. And not, or not, I got about a dozen more I need to convert.
What are you gonna charge me to convert it?
No, Tom, you understand what I'm saying, Tom?
Yeah.
Like if I buy one from, off Amazon, once I've converted my tapes, I'm finished with it, and I'm ready to sell it, or, you know, I'm just.
Put it on Craigslist.
Are you finished with yours and you wanna sell it? If you don't want to, that's fine.
I've converted probably 100 of them. And I've, you know, I've got them, so I could bring it in, or you could come to my house and you can borrow it.
No, when I borrow things go bad. I don't know.
Ask him how much he would charge you to convert these 12 tapes.
No, I'm saying 12, there may be more, okay? But,
You go to
I
Walgreens.
just thought of that, I said, I won't bother you. I understand, you might want to keep it for other people's tapes, and other people have. I'll buy one off of, Amazon.
Well, you know, I must have up in my attic.
Yeah, but are they selling them? Oh,
I
okay.
must have 2 boxes full of VHS tapes. And I was in here about 6 or 8 months ago, and they were getting ready to do one of these sales they have in here. So I came in here, and they had all these boxes of VHS tapes. They were either, I think they were 50 cents a tape. I must have bought 20 of them, you know.
Yeah.
And I got all these, every old movie you can imagine.
Why don't you just go to the library
And I've converted.
and get the DVD and copy it?
What I'm converting, I am converting a few movies. I'm also converting some lectures.
What's the name of the movies? Probably him.
I don't know, I'd have to look.
Give me a list of movies.
But I also have technical tapes I want to convert.
Testing 1, 2. Testing.
Real
You got audio, Jim?
technical tapes.
Good.
I have one.
15 minutes.
I think 6 tapes by Steve Bigelow. Steve Bigelow, you know him, from the investment group,
One of the TV guys.
The candlestick expert here in Houston. Remember, he used to come down to us at Post Oak.
Remember the name?
Yeah, Steve Bigelow. And he ran courses. He ran courses all over United States and Canada. I have 6 tapes I want to convert of that, and then I have some technical tapes for boating, for manufacturing boats. I want to convert.
Well, this thing I've got is about so big and about so high, and it's probably older than you.
Tape here.
And it's got the VHS here, and it's got the CD and DVD over here. You just stick it in there, and it says, click on that, and it plays that, and it records it over there. I mean, it only takes a minute.
That's not long.
The only problem is, it's I don't remember now whether it does it in real time or whether it just.
He does it in real time because he has to read the VHS.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I think you can hit the button that says turn it off. Yeah, I think it'll turn it off if you want it to. Oh, yeah.
Give me a list of movies. I'll see if I can.
They had it sitting all the time in our other conversion office, and it's just taking up space. One day it's gone. And she had taken it to Goodwill and gave it to me. And you know what? I looked it up on the internet. could have sold these for 500.
Yeah, bring me a list of movies. Email me. I'll tell you if I got it. And you, talk to your lawyer. Get another lawyer involved. Through the group. You should be able to get an answer to that immediately. I understand that. Go to, no, go to the, go to the Town Homeowners Association of Virginia Park. That I know you go to. You get all these this on law. Go back to them. Ask them about the sidewalk question. They should be able to give you an answer. Did you go to the homeowners association? Not your homeowners, but the homeowners group that you belong to. Did you ask them? What did they say? Okay, then find out. Say, give me the name of the lawyer who's going to be, I want to hire. Just point the boy, say, go for it, go for it, go.
But you see, here's the thing. My wife doesn't want to do that because that lawyer is going to charge the homeowners association $5,000 to $10,000. And and he tells me he's done that a lot now in the state where the homeowners are doing that. And he says that he's sure to win it, but he's going to cut for the homeowners association.
Yes.
My wife doesn't want to have that come on. We're paying for that.
So what? You pay $30,000, $40,000 a year for somebody to cut the grass on the city's medians. What do you want to do? I mean, you talk about stupid. Excuse me. How you doing with that dog? I don't see any managers.
Well, there are some. My big news is I wrecked my pickup
Oh, no.
the other day, on Monday before our Wednesday meeting. And I got looking at the calendar, and I drove to the dealer out there to see how long it'd take and all that. I reported it Tuesday. And I got there, and I needed to take all of the stuff out of the back of my pickup. Which, in other words, instead of coming to BuildOrBuy, I unshoveled all of the stuff, my dog train stuff, all of my crates, all of my equipment out of the back.
All right. You did something you should have done a long time.
Yeah, right, yeah, I cleaned out the pickup.
Yeah.
But the dog's doing great. He been a puppy sleep, like there are steps to go through this stuff, and like you play with him with a rag, and then you play with him with this. I call it a sausage on this kind of
Arm out.
Yeah, and anyway, he bit a sleeve, a puppy sleeve, not a full sleeve, last Sunday. That's the first time, and then I couldn't get him to let go. But having a problem letting go is better than having a problem when he won't get it.
You're having
Yeah, I am.
I hope you get your truck back soon.
This is what's called a lifetime dog. Like, you only get one this good once.
They're all good.
Yeah, well, true. It just wherever fits you. That's the.
As long as you and him finally.
Joe, you may bring your mic to you.
What's happening?
Oh, I thought you was getting ready to sit down. Ben, did you change the elevation on that camera? No, I'm saying, did you? Yeah, it needs to be up. Just raise it up. Little higher.
I want you to talk about that
That's good.
today. NAGVD. What happened?
Get it so that it's right about there, centered. That'll work. Just so they don't see Joe. Joe's incognito.
Incognito.
That's right. Just the voice.
One of them is Google Chromecast. I have that. I don't, you plug it into the, HDMI, on your display, your TV or whatever, and you hook it to your router. Well, if that's a display unit, what kind of display unit are you you connect it wirelessly to your router, and it needs to be pretty close to your router to get how many.
I take it Ed's not going to be here today. Ed? I got to set up there where my computer is.
You good?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Good.
I had a video I was going to play for you guys today, but I forgot to put it on the computer I was bringing. It works great on the computer I was looking at it on. You know, you forget stuff like that. I want to thank everybody for coming today. Welcome to BuildOrBuy. Do we have anybody new today? Yes, Mel. We've already started, dear. It's 1 o'clock. I got 2 minutes till. Here's a mic.
Forget it, I'll do it next meeting.
Well, go ahead. What's the question right quick?
What's the question?
I just wanted to know if it would be of interest, if it would be of interest to the group to know that you can get lynda.com's courses free from the Houston Public Library.
Sure, it'd be a great idea. We'll announce it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, if you want to go ahead and announce it now, go ahead. It's easier to do it now because I won't remember it later
Well, I need to show you on
on a computer. Okay, well, let's bring up a computer and take a look at it. Where do we need to go to?
can you put it on my computer?
Well, we can put it on your computer, but we won't see it up here on the screen. So if we're going to see it up here on the screen, we need to put your computer right here and plug you in.
Okay, let me do it at the next meeting, whenever that is, because the numbers are long. You've got to have your
Next weekend's Thanksgiving, next Wednesday.
Right, we won't be here next week. So in 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Okay, well, you can at least mention it if you want to, and then we'll tell about it and show it in 2 weeks. If you want, we can put a URL up on BuildOrBuy.
Well, that's problematic too.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's got several steps you have to go through.
Let's show it in 2 weeks then.
Okay, 2 weeks. Good.
But if you want to mention it now, so everybody can be looking forward to it.
You're going to get me to talk yet?
Mel, if you understood what was going on up here, I appreciate y'all letting me focus on this because this takes 110% of what I'm doing. And to remember what you're asking me now, unless you send me an email about it, I will not remember it.
Okay, Gil.
So Mel's got an announcement.
For the group, I have a goodie that's free for you to use. How many of you have heard of the lynda.com site? Lynda.com is a website that has hundreds of courses that you can take. A lot of them are IT courses, the Microsoft courses and programming courses and all kinds of stuff, as well as all kinds of other categories. Normally, you would have to pay money for these, but there is a way to get these free through the Houston Public Library, and you can take any one of these courses that you want. And I'm going to show you how to do that in 2 weeks when we have the next meeting here, because we're all going to be stuffing our faces next week with turkey or whatever it is you eat on Thanksgiving.
That's right. Next week, as a matter of course, since we're on the topic, thanks, Mel, appreciate it. Next week, we won't be here. There won't be a meeting. I'll try to do some kind of a video to put up to tell you guys some of the stuff that you might be interested in that's going on. But we will not be here next week. I will also see if I can get see if I can get Lou to send out an email. And Mel, if you can send me an email about what you just stated, we'll put that in that message as something to look forward to in 2 weeks. So to look at the calendar, we'll be here in 2 weeks, but we won't be here next week. And while we're on the topic of it, in December, we're going to take off, and I'll get Lou to send this out because Lou is not going to be here in December. So you're going to get this one message about next week, no meeting, and about the 21st of December, no meeting. I got to have a break. Yeah, why? Yeah. I ask myself that lots of times. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Anyway, okay. So anybody new today? We're streaming online. We're going to stream the meeting, a piece of it, maybe all of it. I don't know. Right now I'm doing the whole thing because I'm trying to see if we can get up to 1080 for our stream resolution. We're still streaming at 720. Supposedly we're paying for the bandwidth. Supposedly we have the bandwidth, but when I do a test from testmy.net, we do not have the bandwidth. So I'm also testing the device that Ben's going to get later to do capturing with, but I want to see if it does everything I'm trying to get it to do. That's what the process is. So if nobody else here is new, every week we meet from 1 to 3 at Fairhaven UMC, and I want to thank them and thank Richard Worthen for us being here. Richard, how you feeling? Better? Everybody's got some health problems, and Philip has just had some surgery, so he's on the mend right now, some neck surgery. So he's here in body and spirit, but is not able to lift things right now. Maybe in a couple of weeks, be a little bit better. Just take care of yourself. And Ben is doing better. He was, I don't know, ever since that cruise, kind of off. I said, how many women went on this trip? You never know. So anyway, he had food poisoning. So I have a rule. I don't go back to places I've been poisoned at, and I usually don't go back to a restaurant I've been kicked out of. That's my rule. I've only been kicked out of one restaurant, and I've only been poisoned at one restaurant. So far so good. Anyway, moving forward, the news is up on BuildOrBuy. You can take a look at the stuff that's going on. There's some new chipset talk. There's some new CPU talk. Jim Fallon sent a link about some new CPU information, which may not be interesting from a desktop perspective, but from a technology perspective. And if you were building a server, absolutely. But if you were building, say, a workstation, you would be of great interest in that technology. There's a link up as well about Intel is going to start putting the USB 3.1c possibly as a part of the chipset instead of using a secondary chipset for that. So that opens up some new opportunities. I'm going to put up a page on BuildOrBuy. I don't have it yet. Hopefully I'll have it in 2 weeks. And I'm going to probably call it Foundation, like we put up a new page for scaling, because some of the problems we're having trying to get a 4K computer to be able to see the desktop like it's. Put up a page called Foundation that will be a foundation page for the 4 computer types that we've built for various different reasons. Some based on the CPU, bang for the buck. Some based on no video card. Some based on size, form factor, and others based on the chipset for performance. So 4 different levels. I'll get that up in a few weeks. There's 4 topics today I want to get into, and I don't see Robert Collier. He was supposed to be here today. He had trouble getting for some reason, making a USB stick, taking an ISO to create the USB. I did it, it worked, no problem. I was going to go through the process, but since he's not here, there's no point in doing it twice. So we'll get to that one a little bit later. Mel Babb had asked a question about wireless HDMI. We had talked about this in the past, but if you're not here and you didn't hear about it, then for those that did hear about it, we'll go over it again. In order of the wireless things that we do, the number 1 wireless is for our computers. The number 2 wireless that we share in that spectrum is for our microphones. So if we were to add something else wireless, like wireless HDMI, at what cost and what price are we going to pay? In other words, is it worth it? Personally, I don't think it is. I would define wireless HDMI as consumer and professional. And what do you get with professional versus the consumer? Less delay, something in more real time. How does that equate to what a consumer would do? You probably won't notice it. But in a professional environment, it would be extremely annoying. Now, what's wireless HDMI going to cost? Just under $800 for a consumer product. What does professional cost? Around $3,000. Yes, sir, Wayne. For example, wireless HDMI. Say you want to, what is wireless HDMI? Good question. Say you've got a computer and you've got a big screen TV and you want to get that information up on that big screen. There's 2 ways well, there's actually 3 ways you could do it. Wired HDMI, wireless HDMI, or if you can cast the screen. Casting the screen is a great deal. We've tried some of that here before. It's been hit or miss, and we didn't spend a lot of time going back over the issue. We may revisit that later. But if you want to do, instead of an HDMI, you want to do wireless HDMI, you've got a device that plugs into your computer, you've got another device that plugs into the display, They connect and send that signal. And for a consumer product, there's a little bit of a delay in it. So you have to ask yourself, do I want to spend, maybe $10, $15 on a cable? Or do I want to spend, say, $700 or $800 on a device? Some people have tried to use the consumer product in a professional environment, and I can show you some links to some of the products on B&H. That's probably the easiest one to find. There are two in particular that are just under $800, and they're phenomenal for the price. But from my perspective, for what we do up here, if we were to use one of those devices to get signal in, I can buy a converter we need for a wired connection for around $300. So for that kind of money, I can have two converters. But if you want that to use at home, or if you're in another presentation environment, that's a question you have to ask yourself. Now, the professional products, what do you get for the price? There's 3 increments, and they vary in price according to distance.
Gil?
Yes.
Yeah, the casting is probably the thing that I'm most interested in. Let me tell you what I'm looking to do with it, okay?
Okay.
And there's 2 things. One is to be able to look at the movies I have on my computer on the TV,
Yes.
my TV. The other one is if I create presentations that I go into somebody's place to give in groups, how can I wirelessly hook into their TV?
If their TV supports screencasting, then you can do it through the device natively.
What does it take to support screencasting?
Well, Windows 10 supports screencasting. The device, one of the newer TVs will support, like these new 4K TVs we've been doing for the last, year, they will support it. Otherwise, if you want to cast, you've got to have a media player, a media device, like the Apple TV, Roku, a device like that. You cast to that device, and then it displays up on the screen. And that
Okay.
can be done wirelessly.
But just having an HDMI port is not enough.
Well, David's got some comments on that.
Okay, so when you say screen casting, are you talking about capturing it, the audio and the video, and then sending it someplace?
No, just playing what's on my PC on the TV.
Okay, Xbox, there's an Xbox app that's free that should allow you to do that, and there are a couple of other apps as well.
But that means you have to buy an Xbox.
No, it does not. The Xbox apps will work without an Xbox.
And any more information on that, David? David, can you get on the mic, please, so we can hear you?
I just happened to hear that on Leo Laporte's This Week in Tech, or the Tech Guy podcast that is on Saturday that you can download and listen to at twit.tv.
I'm not familiar with that app, Mel. If you want to try it and take a look at it, I'm familiar with doing it the other ways. Does that help any? Mel? Oh, yes. Dwayne, yes, sir.
If you want to look that up, if you look up Leo Laporte's website, I think it's called Twit TV, he documents each podcast by subject, so you can go on and he'll give you the sources on the Xbox and all that. He's got some guy that writes up all of his shows, and so they're tremendously documented. What site is that again? It's Leo Laporte Tech TV.
Are you talking about Twit? Okay, Twit TV. And then pick on shows. tech guy, right here on the right, Leo Laporte. So twit.tv, the tech guy. It's twit.tv. Let me give you the full URL. Mel. Have you got it? Twit.tv. Then click on the shows button at the top right. Click on shows. Then scroll down. Yep, you'll see the tech guy. Now, I'm going to take you over to B&H. Usually this will take you right into it. Wireless HDMI. I'll go to B&H. Here it is, wireless video transmission systems. I'll go to bestsellers. Right there is the least expensive. There's another product that's in that same price range that does that if you want to read about it. Well, that's wireless HDMI. So there's wireless HDMI. That's the least expensive wireless HDMI. The other is some type of screencasting, where if your device supports it, their device has to support it. And if you can use this app that David's talking about from that program, it'll tell you how to do it. Let's get a mic on David. Robert? Yes, David?
May I ask why you're wanting to do wireless HDMI? No, well, I'm sorry, I was distracted.
Yeah, I know, that's easy to be. Well, I want the ability to watch movies from my PC that are downloaded on my PC, and they're old ones, and see them on my TV.
Okay.
And the other reason is if I am making presentations in someone's home, I want to be able to do it through their TV
Okay.
rather than lugging a projector and
Okay.
all
And
that
so, what distance is your computer from your TV?
I'm sorry, I had,
What distance is your computer from your TV at home where you want to watch it?
Maybe 15 feet? Mel?
oh, it's 10 or 15 feet, not
You
very
can, you
far.
can. I do that all the time with just HDMI cables and just an adapter to link one to another. And if you're talking about 30 feet, that's different. But if you're talking only about 10 or 15 feet, you can do that with just two cables.
She wants to do it
Okay.
wirelessly.
Well, yeah, but you know, cheap is cheap.
Because I
And-
have to go through a wall.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I've got a drill.
See, David, the way you and I do it may not be the way everybody else wants to do it. We do it the least expensive way, the most reliable way. So, to each his own. Does that help any, Mel? Okay. It's a great question. We've talked about it before, and I'm sure it'll come up again. We can try the screencasting thing again. Maybe it's better. When we tried it through the media player using both Apple TV and the Roku, I was not real pleased with it.
Okay, back to this subject for just a minute.
Sure, David.
For greater distances, there's a better way to do it where that's not wireless, and that's using Corning. That's using Corning's optical cable. You get a little adapter at the end of your HDMI cable. That's not cheap.
Those are
but-
very expensive.
Yeah, and then you have your Corning glass tube that you can walk on. You can tie in knots, and you can go up to I forget how far, maybe a kilometer.
Yep.
And then have another adapter that goes to your HDMI cable to the other end.
Mel, one of these wireless HDMI devices is cheaper than that cable he's talking about. It's neat technology, but it's expensive. But that's what we're about. Yes, Dwayne. Dwayne.
I think Chromecast will do it. I haven't played with it in a while, but I think if you just plug in a Chromecast.
It's supposed to. There's a new one out. We've had some trouble with Chromecast up here. It wouldn't work with our wireless setup, with our Ubiquiti.
I worked with it for a while, and then I bought a Roku, which was easier to work with, but the Chromecast is a cheap and certainly worth trying.
If it'll work for you. There's a lot of them out there. We can go back and revisit this issue. It's just the time we spent, I believe it was Jack, you had an application. There was 2 different applications. One, it would just show the screen, but what we wanted was to be able to show the screen with the media playing. And I didn't care for the performance. What did you think of it, Jack? True. On your cranky old phone. Let's get a mic so I don't have to repeat what you're saying. There you go. Thank you.
That was on my cranky old Samsung Note 1. And the operating system had to be upgraded about 6 levels before it would even consider casting. So it might be advisable to try it, be worthwhile to try it with a newer device.
We'll revisit that issue and spend some time in advance and see what we can do with it. For example, if we were to try to use the big screen display that we were using at Fairhaven here for a while, the only way we could cast to that screen because of its age, even though it's new and high quality, the technology's moved so fast, we'd have to use some kind of media player on it. Either the Google Chromecast like he was talking about, or a Roku, or an Apple TV to stream to that device. If you were hooking up to somebody's projector, you would again need some kind of a media player that you could stream to that device. So we'll spend some time on that again in the future and come back and revisit that issue because it's a great question. When we looked at it last year, I didn't care for it. I prefer a hardwired connection. And even for what we do up here, if we had something we could go plug into someone's computer and then pop it on the screen, that'd be great. But to have a media player that takes up one of the inputs, I carried that media player for like a year. We tried it twice, maybe 3 times, and it was just taking up space. So I pulled it out of the setup. So enough about that subject. Can we move on to a new topic? Okay, there's a couple things I want to show you. We've talked before about, and this question came up when Joe had mentioned that we could use, for a Cronus, we were using Macrium Reflect. So another issue has popped up that Joe was telling me about today when we try to clone an M.2 drive, coming up with issues. We'll get into that sometime in the future. But the issue I want to address is, say I've got some old files that I've backed up with a Cronus. I'm not using a Cronus anymore, but I need those files because I want to bring them into the new environment, the new world. Well, that was a TIB file. So I said, well, we talked about this before, no problem. I'll just fire up Macrium and look at the file. Macrium said, I don't understand what that is. So I said, okay. I cloned the drive, and I used the clone because I do not want a Cronus on my machine. It cannot be uninstalled. And yes, I know Piriform, CCleaner can uninstall stuff, but there's something going on with a Cronus that will not uninstall, even if you go through all the stuff a Cronus tells you to do. So the easiest way to do it, clone your drive, install it to do what you got to do, then get rid of it. So I'm going to show you on a machine what I ended up with. I did a clean install of Windows, but I'm going to look at the drive that had this file on it. And what I found interesting was this file had been on an older drive. As soon as I figure out where I put it, oh, here it is. Okay, I had put this on a drive back in 2011, but this file I had actually created back in 2007. And the data that's on that drive, because this is an Acronis True Image Backup archive, the data on that file was a 250 gig drive. I haven't used a 250 gig drive in a very long time. And that was on a P4. A P4 with 1 gig of RAM. So all this data that I was looking for, it's an audio drive. I found what I was looking for because this stuff cannot be had on the internet anymore. Since Magix has purchased what used to be Sony, which before Sony was SoundForge, Vegas Video, Acid Audio, and of course SoundForge from Sonic Foundry. So anyway, I want these files, and I had some MP3 files here from years past. They're all in this archive. So I've installed this program so I can get this stuff off. And when I reboot this computer, I go back to the other drive because I will have copied my data off of this. So to get this TIB file, I had to install. Now then, I didn't go buy the program, but I needed the program. So what did I do? I've got a Western Digital drive, and this is the point I wanted to make. If you've got an old file, a TIB file that's been backed up with a Acronis, because I have a Western Digital drive, I went to Western Digital and got the Acronis Western Digital version. Installed it. It seized that file from all those years ago. Didn't cost me anything. Now, Seagate has the same thing available if you need it, but you have to have a Seagate drive running. And I used to advocate using this program, but I prefer Macrium Reflect now. So when I reboot this computer, I go to the other drive, and I'm back in business. And it didn't matter whether I activated Windows or not, but because the other version of Windows is activated, when I booted this drive, it became activated as well. And this is a computer, one of the ones that had to get rebuilt that's in the rack. We're going to see how long it lasts. I'm hoping it'll last at least a year, maybe longer, because I'm going to start experimenting to see what are the requirements, how much computer do you really have to stream with. This computer is a bang for the buck, both of these computers in this rack. It's built with the AMD APU. So that way you've got an APU that has the CPU and the GPU all on one core, one device, one socket. It's a bang for the buck computer. I'll bring up the web browser and go take a look and show you what the motherboard is. For those that are interested, we'll go to BuildOrBuy. I've usually got all my URLs bookmarked, but since this is not, I'll just go to the build specs for the Z170, and I'm going to go to Gigabyte's site, and I'm going to scroll down from a socket for Intel to an AMD FM2 Plus, an A88X, and that motherboard, F2A 88XM D3HP. And I get a little bit of new technology, but not a lot. I have access to the Thunderbolt, but I'm using an AMD FM2 Plus A-series APU. I can put 16 gigs of RAM. I've got 4 cores for the CPU, and I've got great video that'll do 4K if I need it. And we're going to get to 4K in a minute because I got a solution that's not the final solution that Nick Streeter was looking for to make those icons bigger, but it'll make them a little bigger until I can find a better solution. I got 2 programs I'm going to show you. So that's the motherboard that's in this machine. We take a look at the graphics. It'll do the job. It's not in everything, but it does the job. Now it says HDMI 1.4, so bang for the buck. And as you want more technology, you pay more for that technology. Now, I'm going to go to another machine, and let's go to the next topic. Down here under BuildOrBuy, I've got some information to share with you about how to make these icons bigger at the bottom. It's real annoying. You can get a little bit larger, but you can't get a whole lot larger. And there's 2 programs you can do it with. One is free, the guy wants a donation. The other program, you get access to use it for 30 days. Then he gives you the nag screen because he wants you to pay like $3 to have it licensed, $3 per machine. The free one will do everything you want. And now, I've got a link up on BuildOrBuy. I'm going to show you where it's at. It's not on the scaling page yet, but I will put it up on the scaling page later. Now, this information I've got up here according to names, so if I scroll through these 30 items, we should see Nick Streeter's name pop up. Oh, I didn't do it. Okay, so that program is called, I believe it was 7 Plus. Give me a second, I'll tell you what it is. It's for the taskbar. I probably have it in email. Got to wait all those messages to come down, about 336 of them. I send myself a copy of this stuff so I can keep track of it. I believe it was taskbar. Isn't that what we call it? Toolbar. Let me do a search on toolbar. Whoops. Maybe it is taskbar. Okay, one of them is called 7 Plus Taskbar Tweaker. And 7 Plus Taskbar Tweaker version 5.2 will support Windows 10 Anniversary Update. He's got this program to support Windows 7, Windows 8, 8.1, and Windows 10. So I'm going to go to software. He also lists Unchecky, which we all know about that. So we'll go back to 7 Plus Taskbar Tweaker, and this will give you an idea what it looks like. Let's just go ahead and pull the program down and install it, and I'll show you. It's really easy to use. We're going to go to the portable installation available where it says right here, 7thsetup.exe, 1.2 megabytes. It's not real big. We'll download it. And what's tricky is this one thing we want to do. I'm going to execute it. We'll install it. And we'll take a look at these icons. We're going to run it. Now, the part you want to do, right-click, Advanced Options. Once you install this program, I need to make that a little bit bigger. Once you download the program, right-click, Advanced Options. Scroll to the bottom of the list, and right there, W10_large_icons. Where it says 0, I'm going to click in there, put a 1. I'll press Enter. Let me zoom back out, because what I want you to do is look at the taskbar at the bottom. Watch the buttons when I say apply. Are you watching? That's as good as it gets. This other program that you pay money for can do the same thing, but you got to pay money for it. This guy wants a donation. I'd rather make this guy a donation so I can put it on all my machines, because that's the only thing you need to use it for. Now, this apparently is built into Windows to be able to do this. This still doesn't get us where we need, but it's a start. What we need is somebody that can take it a step further. Now, the other guy who has the program that costs money, he will tell you about how you can replace these icons by going to DeviantArt. If y'all are familiar with DeviantArt, they have some beautiful wallpapers. But apparently DeviantArt has some icons which would tell me that it's possible to put even larger icons in there. I haven't had a lot of time to go that extra step. I've just done this step with both applications. And for free, this is the way to go. But we may have to go with the paid version to get them even larger. And I found a third application that is supposed to do this, but for free. We need to install this on your laptop, Nick.
Well,
Yes, Joe.
his problem, more so than the taskbar, is on other programs. Is the toolbars like up in here?
I had some very detailed information from Dwayne about how you could look inside of each application to see how that was programmed, but to do that would be extremely tedious. We need some way for the user at the interface level to, something like this, controls to do this. Otherwise, a separate application that lets us replace the icons. So in each application, unless I have a 4K that I'm looking at all the time, I don't go looking for this stuff unless someone says, how do you do that? So that's one little thing. That's how you do that. Now, there should be a link up on BuildOrBuy for this. Let me go back over here and look. 7+ taskbar tweaker. I thought I had Nick's name up on this, but apparently I don't. 4. Number 4? Thank you. There it is, super user. Thank you. In fact, super user has a real nice discussion on how to do this. And the Ron Michaels blog, 7+ taskbar tweaker, and then Start is back, is the other application. But it costs money. And if you're only looking to do one thing, why pay for it? We're a sucker for free. Anybody find that useful? Okay, so I talked about Acronis, how to pull a TIB file back without paying for Acronis. Because we used a Western Digital drive, we downloaded Acronis, the Acronis Western Digital version from Western Digital's website. And there should be a link up on BuildOrBuy for that as well. Yes, Joe?
Have you tried taking that TIB file and taking the TIB off and put the reflect extension on it?
I didn't.
Because, you know, if in some files, such as video files, you can replace MKV with
Yes.
something else, you know, and
Yes.
they'll work. And since Reflect came from Acronis,
It's all the same bunch of developers.
right, so maybe they just,
Could be. I'll give that a shot. I need to try that. I had a lot of things I was trying to do. And another thing I want to get to is, since Jim Johnson's here, some stuff you asked me about. Jim, did you get the information I sent to you about, you never did look at it? It never came. I sent it to you and to your wife. Wow, okay. I'll have to send it again. More than likely, my messages ended up in the spam folder. It's like Nick said, Gil, why did your message end up in the spam folder? Well, I send a lot of FYI stuff out, and Al Massey used to say the same thing. So if you'll ever notice on a lot of messages I send out, I put GB first. That way you can put me on a filter according to GB if you don't filter my email address specifically, and it'll go wherever you tell it to. But I will share with you some stuff about some graphics when we get to that in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to try what Joe said, but so far I told you what I had to do to solve my problem. We looked at how to make the taskbar icons bigger to help Nick Streeter a little bit. And that'll also help. I saw Andrew. Where's Andrew? He was here. Oh, there you are, Andrew. That may help Andrew as well. And since, well, I'll take you to this link anyway. To take a ISO to USB. I don't know why this did not work for the ISO to USB. And this is a link that Microsoft sends you to, the wudt.codeplex.com. I have it in my pocket. I took a regular memory stick, and I took the Windows 7 64-bit, but it was the Windows 7 Professional, no, take that back, Windows 7 Ultimate 64-bit, and I took that ISO and put it to a USB stick, and that program reformats the disk because I had it set for FAT32 to do the ISO for Windows 10. It reformatted the disk in TFS and put the ISO on there so it could install. And I wanted to use Robert Collier's memory stick, but since he's not here, is anybody else interested in it? Oh, there you are,
Yes,
Robert.
sir.
Have you got your memory stick with you? Yes. Let me have it. We'll go through this. First, let me double check. I got to see where the ISO's at because I don't remember where I put it. If you don't work on the same computer all the time, things change. Thank you. I'll go to this computer. I believe it would be on a different drive. Public, downloads, incoming ISO files, and there it is. Okay, it's on this machine. We're going to see what happens. So what I want to do is I'll go back to BuildOrBuy, bring that up. BuildOrBuy.net, either BuildOrBuy.net or BuildOrBuy.org. In case I do this again, I'll just bookmark that. I'm going down here to Codeplex. This is not a quick site to load. It says connecting. It's doing its thing. While I'm waiting on it, I'll go ahead and bring up the magnifier because it's not configured on this computer. And I'll see if I can get magnifier to do what we want. Okay, we're going to download this program. See if that'll magnify now. We'll download, save the file. Let's take a look at that file. Let's run it. Aha, this application requires the .NET Framework 2.0. Please install the .NET Framework 2.0 and then run this again. Okay, the way to do that, let me zoom out for just a minute so I can see everybody. I'll click on Finish. That's part of Windows. So what I need to do is go to the Control Panel, and I'm going to the Programs and Features. Then I'm going to go to Turn Windows Features On or Off. It'll repopulate, and .NET Framework, .NET 2, and .NET 3. I will do that check mark. We've talked about this numerous times. And then we'll download the files from Windows Update. So this is the whole 9 yards of what has to be done. This is a clean install of Windows with a minimal amount of stuff. Done hardly any customizing. I'm customizing as we go. Once we download these features, then we'll run that utility again. And I'm not going to stick the memory stick in until it asks for it. Now, if this install that we're doing does not work, that would then mean that our, what do you call that file, would be corrupted. Downloading requires files. That's like watching grass grow. There we go. Miracle Grow does wonders. I have no idea about our bandwidth because I don't have that icon installed. Applying changes. And of course, if this didn't work, that would mean that database file were corrupted, and then we'd need the ISO and have to go play that game. But we're doing this for one purpose only. I could have rebooted the computer and had access to the other drive. I think I have this installed. But this is to expedite. And all in all, it's a good idea because it reminds you, if you want to use this, you got to do this. But you notice that tool didn't tell you where to go get this. It just said you got to install those files. So we went to the control panel, to the programs and features, and then said turn Windows features on, and then we said let's install that .NET mess. I remember when that first bunch of stuff came through with .NET we had to have, I tried to avoid it like the purple plague. I didn't want it. Okay, Windows completed the requested changes. We close. It says it's installed. We'll close that window. Now let's go back and run this tool again and see what happens. Okay, next, install. Now it's installing. Click the finish button. We are done. So let's minimize that stuff on the desktop. And there's the tool. We're going to run the tool, and I've got to tell it where that ISO is at. So I'm going to go browse to that source, which is on a different drive. This PC. I've got to browse to that drive. Users, public, downloads, ISO files, and here's the Windows 7 64-bit, Windows 7 Ultimate 64-bit. This was created back in 999. That's how long it's been sitting around. Click on it. There's the file. We'll go to next. Let's zoom in on this. And I have the option. Choose the media type. Please select the media type you would like to use to create your Windows 7 backup. You can choose to copy to USB or burn to a DVD. We're going to choose a USB device. And then it's going to say no device detected. Okay. Pull the cap off. We're going to plug this in. This is a SanDisk. It's USB 3, so it should go fairly quickly. Please insert, cancel that. So I'll do the icon, and it sees the drive, removable disk H. I'm good with that. Begin copying. Now, was there anything on that disk, Robert?
Yeah, the ISO you put on there 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so we're going to delete it. Before we do it, just for grins, I'm going to look at that disk. This PC, and this disk, which is H, because I want to see the format. Show me the properties. Okay, this drive right now says 0, so you took it off. So there's nothing on it. And I'm not even... How big is it? It just says 0 bytes.
It doesn't tell you that it's 16 gigabytes or 2 megabytes.
If I bring up the format screen, it can format it from here, and by default it wants to go to FAT. Okay, I'm going to close this and close this screen. I just wanted to look at it ahead of time. There's nothing on it. So whatever was there is gone. So I'm going to say, do your job. Begin copying. The selected device is in use by another program. Close all applications and try again. Okay. What do we have open? I don't think, oh, the file manager could be it. File manager, we'll close that. Try it again. Keeps telling me it's in use by another program. So I'll close it again, call it up, go tell it where the ISO's at, because it won't remember the path. Users, public downloads, ISO files, Windows Ultimate 7 64-bit, next, USB, sees the disk, begin copying. In use by another program. Okay, it's going to make me reboot. There is nothing else using that disk at the time. So give me a second. I'm going to change the screen for just a minute because I'm going to reboot that computer.
I'm just suspicious that the H drive is not all of that USB stick, that it's giving you one of the partitions, and it's small. That's,
Well,
I may be wrong, but that's what I would guess.
it looked like it was trying to install some software. That could have been our problem. I didn't notice that a while ago. So let's go pull up the ISO again. It's so nice the way it does not remember that. Try it again. Users, public, downloads, ISO files. Here we go. Next. USB device. Got it. Begin copying. Still in use. Okay, it's going to make me reboot. Let me reboot it. So change the screen for just a minute. Oh, this is great. Give me just a minute. You want to change the screen there, Ben? Thank you. Microsoft, in their infinite wisdom, wanted to update before it would let me reboot. So I'm fixing that. Okay, when this computer comes back, it's going to look a little different. Because I don't have time to play with an update. Microsoft and those updates are getting really annoying, especially when you're trying to give a presentation. Computer's coming back up. It's going to look a little different this time around. Thank you, Ben. I want to thank everybody for their help and their patience while we get all this stuff set up each week.
While we're waiting, Gil,
Go ahead, Joe.
Nick has successfully cloned his drive.
Good, on the M.2.
Yep.
Interesting. I wonder why we had trouble with it last week. We need to spend some time doing some research on that. Oh, I thought I swapped drives. I didn't. Okay, this is coming back up. Let's run this tool again. Got to go back and pull the source. ISO files. Okay, next. Let me plug in the drive again. That's going to do that same thing it did a while ago. Removable disk. In use by another program. What is using that disk? There is nothing there. Do you mind if I reformat that?
Go right ahead.
It'll do a FAT. I'm just going to do a quick format on FAT to see if that'll stop.
I think I had that formatted as a GPT disk.
You can't.
You cannot
You cannot do that.
for 16 gigabytes?
You cannot do that to a removable device.
So you can't boot to a GPT drive?
Robert, this is a memory stick.
Okay.
But you've told me something now I need to go look at. I got to go to control panel. Administrative tools. Oh, wrong button. I meant to go to computer management. Just a minute. Computer management. Disk management. Removable disk, H, it says it's unallocated. New simple volume. See if this will solve the problem. And it's only letting me do it on FAT32. See if that'll solve our problem. Says it's write protected. If anybody could do this, Robert Collier could do it.
It might be. Is there
Well, the thing that I don't understand is that's the, you handed me that 2 weeks ago with an ISO on it, and I handed it back to you, and, it doesn't seem to be there. And all these other problems, I don't know where they came from.
is there a
I haven't
slide?
done anything with it except carry it around.
It says the media is write protected.
Is there a slide on there, Gil?
I
On the
didn't
media?
think there was a slide on it.
Oh, not those, no.
Not these little rascals.
No, it's too small.
It's a good point, though. It says the disk is write protected.
Well, that sounded like a good thing to put in the trash can, unfortunately.
Well, not necessarily. I'll take a look at it, but in the meantime, I've got another stick here in my pocket. Well, how'd y'all solve it? Can we get a mic on you, Philip?
We had a USB problem like that,
There's a mic.
where we couldn't change. I thought I had a bad USB stick,
Right,
and I gave it to Joe. He traded me.
right.
And then when he came back, he said he solved the problem by just simply rebooting Windows 10.
I did reboot Windows 10 a while ago.
Okay,
You didn't see that?
yeah.
You didn't see that?
I was dozing off, and then
Okay.
I woke up when,
We did reboot Windows 10.
okay.
And we just got noise. Where's that coming from? Okay, I'm going to stick another stick in here that has what you need on it. And it's already done. So what I'm going to do is look at this disk. And it's set up as NTFS. So I want to go through the process so you see what's involved. So we're going to call up the tool. Got to go pull the file name. So we'll go to this PC, go to this disk, users, public, downloads, incoming, ISO files, pull the file. We'll go to next, USB, seize the drive. We'll begin copying. And now then, here's what it's supposed to do that it wasn't doing a while ago. The selected drive must be erased in order to continue. Do you want to erase the contents from this device? I'm going to say erase. You selected to erase the contents. All contents will be lost. Are you sure you want to do this? Yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm doing this to go through the process so when this is finished, Robert had a problem and I wasn't able to give him what he needed last time. So I'm going to swap disks with you and I'll see if I can figure out what's wrong with your disk. I'll try it on another machine.
That's great with me.
Let me see it, Gil.
Yes. I put the plastic cap back on it. Thanks, Joe. Now, when this gets through, it should do what you want. Somebody's turned something on because we're getting extra noise. That's one of the reasons we need an isolation transformer up here. Jerry Lee's not here. I got to get him together to meet with Bob.
If we've got a minute or two, it looks like we do. I'd like to update you on my sad saga or disaster.
What was that?
Well, last time I told you about losing the RAID a couple of times. I had my computer off for 10 days while I was gone for the last couple of weeks. And when I turned it back on yesterday, the RAID once again was gone. So I rebooted and stopped in the RAID command, and this time there were 2 disks that were bad. One of them was number 1, which is the same one that it complained about a week ago. And the other one was number 3, which was a new one to fail. And so with a RAID of 5 disks and 2 failures, it could not present me with the data because 1 disk failing, it can recreate the data and give it to you. But with 2 disks failing, it can't do that. So the wonderful software that Gigabyte has provided would not let me boot the computer as long as I still had the RAID there. So I had to, within the RAID software, anyway, the firmware, delete the RAID unconditionally, you know, throw away all my data, and then I could boot.
Ouch.
So since I have a backup, you know, and it takes 3 days to load it, but I could do it again. So I have done it. I have booted now, and I'm running, and I have at this point no backup for my data because there's only the one set of it.
Robert,
So yes.
Robert, can we go back to this for a second?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Is this a comment that you saw before where it could not because of bootsec?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't have this the first time I did this, but I'm having it now. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, that's where I got to, and I didn't try to boot it. It tells me that you've got, you know, when you look into that, it says there's something to do with 32 bits that I don't understand because I'm not doing anything 32 bits. But evidently, if you can find that utility they're talking about, you can fix it. But that's where I quit and decided to, you know, try here.
This worked the first time. I don't know why it's doing this now.
Well, my bottom line is I'm going to go ahead and build another machine. I'm going to use the gaming motherboard, and I'm going to buy another box and put a hardware RAID in place instead of doing it with Gigabyte again, because with 2 different types of failures, I have not been able to rebuild a RAID using the Gigabyte feature. And so I'm not willing to go that path again. So I'm going to try a hardware RAID box, and hopefully, if there is ever another disk failure, I'll be able to restore that RAID by replacing the disk instead of having to start over.
Since you're going to go with hardware RAID, whose controller are you going to use?
I haven't yet. I just got back yesterday. I haven't yet researched it. The first question I have in mind is, do I buy a 4-disc box or an 8-disc box? And so I'm just going to go look and see what's available. If you got a recommendation, I'd like to have it.
Do you know what a RAID controller costs?
Well, they're around $500, I think.
Yep.
But, you know, just a NAS box is $300. And so, you know, $500 is not a whole lot more as compared to building another computer. So the $500 may be for a 4-disc box. And if I do that, I would probably have to buy 4 new discs in order to get the same size RAID that I'm replacing.
And
if
which
I get an 8-disc box, yeah, it's more expensive.
The motherboard you were using was the Gigabyte UD5, correct?
Correct.
And you're going to go to that
Gaming.
the gaming board. Good idea.
So that only has 6 ISO. What is it? What are the discs called these days? My memory's failing.
What, a hard drive?
Yeah.
The size?
No, just 6 ports.
Oh, the SATA ports.
SATA, there's the word.
It's okay.
You know, it's been a week since I said it, so I forgot it.
That's
Anyway,
okay.
it only has 6, so I can't put the RAID in there, and I don't want to try Gigabyte's RAID again, ever. So, you know, that's what I'm saying. I'll get my RAID built first, and then I'll build another computer with another motherboard. Because there's something wrong. It could be my disks are failing. They are purple drives. And so maybe they just are only good for 6 months and they start to fail. Or maybe purple drives are not appropriate for putting in a RAID because of some response time that they have. So the failures that I'm getting may be transient, but I can't recover from them at this point. So
Let's see
I
if-
don't know what my problem is, but my solution is going to start with a different vendor for my RAID.
Well, I was going to have a sticker for you today, but it looks like I don't. I should have left it the first time because it worked. I'm going to reformat the disk from Windows and try it again. Third time's always a charm. And this time I'll take it to NTF. No, NTFS is what it chose. I'm going to put it back at FAT32. Do a quick format. This is 29.8 gig capacity. Then I'll go back and do it again, because that's what I started with last time. Third time's a charm. Like I said, I did this. It worked. I don't know why it's doing it now. Technology's great when it works. When it doesn't, we get frustrated, don't we, Nick? Yes, indeed. Kicking and screaming. ISO file. Next. Go to the USB device. Begin copying. So we'll see what happens. If this doesn't work, then I'm going to have to figure it out, and I won't have a memory stick for you. I should have given you one I had. It worked, but I wanted to go through the process so everybody could see what was involved. Like they said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's what I did. I tried to fix it to show the process.
I'm sorry I rubbed off on you.
Well, if we fix this, then we've found a way to solve it, but I still don't know what's wrong with yours. Joe's taking a look at it, see if he can make it work. Because I had originally set this up to use with the Windows 10 ISO. And of course, Microsoft does their little thing to it. So it was FAT32. So that's what I've done. I've reformatted this for FAT32. And this application, which says it's from the Microsoft Store, is the Windows 7 USB DVD download tool. Is going to change it over to NTFS. 38%. We'll see if this works. Ah, the noise went away. These ground loops are strange bugs. Jerry Lee's got an isolation transformer, but we need an electrician to look at and evaluate and see what's going to be required to hook up the isolation transformer up here. And I've just got to send them an email and get them both communicating at the same time. Been a little busy. Let's see, now Nick Streeter's laptop is a 4K. The laptop that Andrew has, Mimi's laptop, is also 4K. There's an article, while I'm thinking of it, about the Asus Zen, but it's not the Asus Zen 4K that you guys have. If you're interested, it's on Digital Trends, and what they're comparing is an Asus ZenBook 3 to an Acer Swift 7. It's a spec comparison. Just an FYI if anybody's curious. Mel, how far are you on your upgrade path? Have you decided desktop or laptop? You're thinking laptop? Mike's, where's the mic? Thanks, Robert. Robert Collier's bringing a mic to you. Thank you, Mel. Still didn't work, and I have no idea why.
No, that doesn't do it. The hum is still there. I'm still looking at, I'm starting to look now at the bits and pieces that have to go with it to make the thing doable. And one of the things that I'm starting to investigate are docking stations and backup drives and on the docking station, I didn't realize it, but you can set it up so that you have just one cord to plug into the docking station from the computer and one power cord to plug in, and it will work. I was thinking you would have to unplug all the plugs and then it would work, but I'm still a long way from getting there. So
What laptop are you looking at?
I'm trying to see if mine will work with it. I don't know if it will yet or not. may not have enough ports. But the docking station has the ports. I've got the HDMI, I've got the USB 3, and apparently that's what I need. Anybody know?
Well, Mel, it depends on which laptop you're buying, I would imagine. You have any luck, Joe?
No luck at all.
Never could get it to work. Robert, I don't have a memory stick for you. Here's your stick back.
Okay, Mel, I got a question. When you say docking station, could you just as well have said toaster?
Could I what?
Could you just as well have said toaster? I'm not sure what you're talking about when you say
Oh,
docking
no,
station.
No.
Or you want to
Docking
dock
station?
a laptop?
No. A docking station is so I can put my laptop onto 2 external monitors.
Okay, so you want
And
to
a
dock the
backup
laptop.
device
You're not
and a-
docking a hard drive.
And a
No.
backup device is a second device that I'm going to need. And external CD drive is another thing I'm going to need. So I'm looking at these pieces, trying to figure out how I can get them all onto the laptop and still make it work. Yes.
Are you sure you're going to need an external CD drive?
Well, how am I going to make CDs or DVDs?
Well, okay, that's what I was asking. You have to make them to hand them out or something?
Yes.
Okay.
I would first focus on the laptop that you're looking at and then figure out which docking station works best for you. For example, the docking station you would use on a regular Asus Zen 1080 display would be probably different because it might not have, and I'd have to double check the specs, it might not have Thunderbolt. If you were going to buy like Nick Streeter or like Andrew Mimi and get an Asus Zen 4K laptop because it has Thunderbolt, then I would suggest a Thunderbolt docking station for speed, for port capability.
Okay.
So focus on the computer, but before you buy it, double check to see what kind of ports you got to see where you go. I think the docking stations like we've had in the past are a little different than the kind of docking stations we would look at now.
Yeah, I discovered that. I made a search through Micro Center and took a look at some of the stuff. Fascinating.
Yeah, it's, and a lot of them are very computer specific. For example, I worked with someone who had a lot of Dell computers in their office, so of course they had Dell docking stations. That was fine and dandy for those computers, but then when he changed computers, he needed to change his docking stations. He then turned around, I think, and went with HP computers.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
So that changed things. Sometimes docking stations have maybe a proprietary port.
Well, I think there's a difference between a docking station and a replicator, which I didn't realize either. So,
Docking station
yeah.
or a port replicator.
Our what?
Port replicator. Port, P-O-R-T, port
Well,
replicator.
At Micro Center, they told me just the opposite. The port replicator is the thing that Dell has, and the docking stations were off in another section, and they were devices that stood up that looked like just nothing but a stick with a bunch of ports on the back of it.
Right. Sounds right. Now, the one we're looking at for Nick was Thunderbolt USB 3.1C. It's a little device that sits on the desktop. I don't know if it's got a stand to stand it up. I don't remember.
Okay. That's where I am.
That's kind of where you're at. Okay. Well, you can look at that comparison, and I would, suggest look at the technology, and like you're doing, going over to Micro Center, see what they've got, see what they recommend, but then see if that fits what you want to do. Now, with Dick Streeter and Joe, we were looking at the technology, and we were looking at 2 brands, and I said, well, I'd go with this brand before I'd go with that brand. And then we found out kind of what he was looking at, and I said, well, here's this deal at Costco. How does this look? It had the video, better video than a lot of the other ones did, and it was also 4K. And oh, by the way, it was a touchscreen. Had all the bells and whistles for the money. To me, it was bang for the buck. Joe liked it. Nick liked it. I liked it. Now, Nick's had some problems, but it was not specifically with that computer. Part of it was with Windows 10 that we're kicking and screaming, getting used to. And the last issue they had, they were able to solve. They contacted Asus and had first-class tech support, and they solved it. Couldn't tell me what they did to solve it, but they solved it.
We spoke to somebody in the U.S.
and someone in the U.S., which really helps, makes a big difference. Made it difficult to understand them? Because they spoke English?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Okay, Jim, you had asked me about how to do graphics. The graphic that I used to run up here all the time. In fact, I'll show it on this computer right quick. This particular graphic, the BuildOrBuy intro, we'll hear the audio here, but they will not hear the audio on YouTube. Oh, we're not going to hear it either. Anyway, that video, that's done with, or that can be done, and this is one of the reasons for a video editor. This could be done with DaVinci Resolve, this could be done with CyberLink Power Director, or it can be done with Vegas Video. But what makes this work is the plug-in, and the plug-in to do this with, oh, I thought we were looking at it. Well, I'll run it again. I thought Ben was on that video right there. Now see, this kind of information could be done as a video by itself, or with the other video that I've done with Nick Streeter's information as an overlay. And this, with the extrusion of the letters, is done with titling software. And that's a plug-in that works within the application. Now, here's a more refined and this is a little bit different, but it's the same principle. Okay, first you'll see lower thirds graphics, but it's the same principle. Laid right on top of the video, and that's Nick Streeter's hand. Then we go to a full screen, BuildOrBuy, every Wednesday 1 to 3. That's done with titling software. It's a plug-in. Titling software will run standalone. It'll also run as a plug-in. So if you want to do something like that, I would recommend number one, DaVinci Resolve. It's free. If you don't have any tiling software at all, then the way to get to the professional version, and you have to weigh the costs. If you've never done any of this before, then I would suggest, do you have CyberLink Power Director? Okay, this time of year, remember we're coming up on those Black Friday deals. I'm going to go to CyberLink Power Director, and this program breaks really easy. But this program, CyberLink Power Director, they may have a deal running right now. In fact, if you will send me an email, okay, there's an upgrade. If you've never had it, it's $70. Let me think. What's an easy way to get an upgrade? If you start with the Ultra, the Ultimate, or the Ultimate Suite, I would say probably the Ultimate for $115. What I'm trying to do is show you some options. If you buy that program, it has the ability to do titling. It is a plug-in. It is an old version of the plug-in that I'm going to show you where the parent of this comes from. Once you activate that plug-in, once you activate it, then the company that actually makes that plug-in will then turn around and send you an offer to upgrade to the new version. But the new version does not work in this program. The new version will work in the other programs. So it's a matter of how you get there. This is one way to get there. But the titling software comes from, and there are several, but this is the number one. New Blue Effects. And they make plugins to do a lot of different things. And New Blue Effects is coming out with a new version of their titling software. Titling is what they do. Titler Pro 5. Now, the titling software that comes with Power Director is probably like version 3, 2 or 3, I think it's version 3. And then you get, once you activate that plugin, you get an offer from New Blue Effects to get an upgrade to version 4. Version 5 is now coming out. But they do plugins that allow you to do all these wild things with graphics. Some of this stuff we used to do with CorelDRAW. Y'all remember CorelDRAW and Arts and Letters from years back? But when you're dealing with the video like I showed you where we overlay on top and do the lower, what they call lower thirds, there's an alpha channel that lets that, it takes care of all that automatically for you. So all you do is play with the elements to get it like you want. There are templates that you just plug in your text and it runs. Or you can create your own. But the power of that is the ability to do 2 different types of graphics. The very simple that you saw with the first video and the more complicated that's in the second video. But it gives a very professional look to the video. So you can, and here Power Director here says, here's an extra 20% off. They're eager to get you to try to buy that program. This program is fragile. It breaks easy. You will get probably an offer to do probably 3 or 4 upgrades for free before the program does a big upgrade that they want you to buy. But it breaks. As long as it works, it's hunky-dory. The free program from Blackmagic Design, which is DaVinci Resolve, whenever they upgrade, you upgrade the free version, and it's free. And they keep it constantly updated. You uninstall it, install the new one. And any plugins you've bought work in the free version. So everything's current. So what you have to look at is say, what does it cost to get this? Will this do what I need? Or do I want to go this other route? If you want something that's got everything in it you need to start with, this is probably the easiest and least expensive way to do that. And right now that's $91.99. Oh, here we are. $91.99. Thanks, Ben. Says, it looks like I'm going to leave the site. We have an extra 20% off coupon. So with that coupon code, which is HBDCL20, you get that program for $91.99, which is not bad for $100. The titling software can get expensive, but if you need that capability, it's relevant. But when the parent program you're using is free, then the titling software is not that expensive. But when you're having to buy the video software, for example, Vegas Video has a deal, and I believe it's Vegas Creative, I think it's VegasCreativeSoftware.com. Let me see if that's it. Yeah, that's it, VegasCreativeSoftware.com. I have read that Vegas Pro, there are 3 versions of it: Vegas Pro Edit, Vegas Pro, and Vegas Pro Suite. And there's a product comparison. Vegas Pro, that's a $600 program. If you have the link to get the offer, you can buy this program at the upgrade price for $200. Because through the transition, I have read they have no way to know all that information is transferred over, which means anybody can qualify for the upgrade. This program for $200 is not just Vegas. This program, Vegas Pro, if we do a product comparison, you also get DVD Architect with it. DVD Architect lets you create CDs and DVDs. It's part of it, so it's bang for the buck. So if you get that for $200, you also have the plug-in to do titling. And if we scroll down, remember, titling software is what you're looking at. And you're going to see some tools here. New Blue Effects. New Blue Effects is the titling software we were looking at. The full-blown version has not only New Blue Effects, but if you look here, it says Native plus New Blue Effects Titler Pro Express. And the other one more expensive is New Blue Effects Titler Pro 3. Well, you get Titler Pro 3 from Power Director. Why do I know all this? Because I use all 3 of these programs for different reasons. I like Vegas for what it does. It's easy to use. the new blue effects will work in any of them, but when you upgrade, new blue effects, the current version, will not work in Power Director, but it will work in Vegas Video, and it will also work in DaVinci Resolve that's free. So it's a matter of where you want to be at, how deep you want to get into this. Do you want to get into this for $100 and then maybe upgrade to a program that'll do something else? Or do you want to get into this for $200 and have some access to some upgrades? It's a tough call. Another way to look at it, CyberLink Power Director is a consumer program, but it does some professional things, and it works. It keeps the audio and video in sync. When you start using Vegas Video, or when you start using Blackmagic Design, DaVinci Resolve, those are professional programs. One costs money, one's free. And it gets you into other stuff. Does that help? Yeah. Give you some ideas? Yeah. Did it kind of blow your mind? Yeah. I hope so. And if you'll notice, another screen popped up here. We're off. Let me see. That is on number 4. Thank you, Ben. Okay. Another screen popped up, if you'll notice there on the screen, where it says, looking to upgrade, please email our customer service at upgrade@vegascreativesoftware.com. Include the serial number from the version you currently own to receive the upgrade offer. I can provide you with the link to the program that will let you get the upgrade. You don't have to give a serial number. And it's $200. So, $200 to get that, but you get the ability to do DVDs and CDs, or you can start there for $100. Now, if you use this program for $100, you can still download and be using DaVinci Resolve free, and you can compare and see what the two do. In fact, if you want to start with DaVinci Resolve, it's free, but if you need the plug-in to do the titles, right there they are, but it's $100. So it gives you some options. There are other programs that do it, but New Blue Effects is the main one. There are other effects that do some strange, wild things. You can even do color correction with these effects. It's an extra plug-in. So I'm glad you're here so we could do that, and I'll send you an email that I'd sent you before. I'll resend it with this stuff on it. So we talked about Acronis, and I'm going to try Joe's suggestion to see if I can rename that extension from a TIB file to whatever it is Macrium needs. We talked about the ISO to USB. Did not work. Something wrong with Robert's memory stick, and now there's something wrong with my memory stick. My mic keeps cutting out. And I have no idea why. And then we talked about the, I can't read that from here. I can read it from here? Nope. Got to go over there and see it. Oh, we talked about the video graphics, which is actually titling software. And then we talked a little bit about the taskbar icons, how to make them larger. Interesting? So we hopefully solved sort of Nick Streeter's problem. We sort of solved a problem that Jim was asking about. We tried to solve Robert Collier's problem. I don't have an answer why it doesn't work. I'll do it again. And hopefully we had some information from Mel, because she was asking about wireless HDMI, when all she really needs is to be able to screencast. Interesting? Okay. Now then, anybody got any questions? Oh, please. Yes, ma'am. Oh. Thank you. I appreciate it. It helps. It takes all of us to make this work, and I appreciate y'all letting me stay focused so I can concentrate on this, so then when we start, we can do our thing. And, oh, I know what it was that Nick Streeter had a problem with. We thought it might have been a problem with the HDMI cable, and Nick said whatever it was that ASUS helped with, it was not anything to do with the cable. But he now has audio on his laptop, so I'm glad that was solved. Who is that? Is that JB? You want to turn that down, JB? Thank you. Thank you, JB. Okay, any questions? Anybody got anything to share this week? Okay, remember, we're not going to be here next week. We'll be here in 2 weeks. And then we're going to have 1 weekend off also in December. Yeah, so it'll be Happy Thanksgiving next week. Yes, Joe.
One piece of information. I got a call from Milt this morning.
Milt Guggenheim.
Yeah,
Is he okay?
he is, but Bob Schwartz, his brother-in-law is not.
Sorry to hear that.
It's down to, he's got hospice in 24 hours a day now.
Wow.
So his chances of getting much past Thanksgiving are pretty slim. Bob Schwartz,
Bob Schwartz. Yeah.
the younger one of the two.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Jack?
Could we schedule a session that takes a look at PowerShell in Windows
Sure.
10?
Sure. You want to do PowerShell sometime?
I was hoping to learn about it.
There are some tools. Our motto is always try to keep it simple. I wouldn't exactly call PowerShell simple, but if y'all want to get into it, we'll do it. I'm not going to say when, but it's something we'll do in the future, in the next few weeks. Have you tried PowerShell, Joe?
No,
Yeah.
I'm making a note of it.
Yeah. Ditto. It's like someone was asking about a VPN. I said, well, we'll look into that later. I haven't done it yet. There's a million other things I'm doing. And on a list of a million other things, it's down here. It's not up here. But PowerShell, I'll move it up. You would? Well, VPN's down here. I'm still trying to figure out some of this stuff we're doing for streaming. It works. As I told Ben, I said, this is the 4th time we've done this, and it takes me 3 or 4 times before it finally kicks in and says it'll go. And what I've discovered today is that time that I set, start at 1 minute after that, and it'll work. If I try to let it to stream before I set the time, it just won't do anything. I don't fully understand it, but when it works, it's great. So when someone says, is everything okay? I say, well, I'll let you know as soon as I find out. So when it started streaming and it worked, I was a happy camper. So we'll spend some time with PowerShell, and we'll try to spend some time with the VPNs. I think a lot more people are doing the VPNs than they used to. And there's a reason for it. There's a need for it, maybe. We'll see. Any other things you guys want to see in the future? PowerShell, VPN, what else? Like Mel sending the email, it gives us time to have in advance so we can give you some information to share. JB, Mike's coming your way. Hang on just a second.
Opera has built-in VPN.
Yes. Yes, it does. Free.
Yes.
Yes, JB.
I have 2 things.
Yes, sir.
Number one, rescue disk for Windows. What does it actually do? Does it just copy your restore partition or not? The other thing is I keep getting all these Windows Defender needs to scan notifications. How do you get rid of them?
Scan, number 1.
Daily? In the middle?
Set it to automatic scan.
From what I've read, it says you can, but I can't tell you how you get the scan.
I'll look. I'm using Windows Defender, and I only get a real flash in the lower right-hand corner that says, Windows Defender found a program and took care of it. That's all that bugs me about it. I mean, it doesn't irritate me with all these pop-ups. But back to your first question. What was your first question?
Rescue disk.
Rescue. What does it do?
Yeah.
Okay. Rescue disk loads a very, very minimal Windows on your machine, and it runs that minimum Windows to try to look at your installation and find out what the problems are, or if you can't find them, to redirect you to your backups, CD, DVD, or disk, and install that. But it runs its basic functions to run a very basic version of Windows. Now, some of them run a basic version of Linux. But if you make the backup disk and ask for Windows PE, which means pre-install environment, then it'll install a very basic version of Windows as opposed to Linux.
And typically we suggest creating the rescue disk from your cloning software or your backup software. So if you're using Macrium Reflect, that's one of the first things it'll ask, do you want to create a rescue disk? And you should.
Well, maybe I'm asking, maybe it's the Windows Restore disk, but something on the backup and restore options, you here create a system repair disk. What does that do?
The system repair disk, basically, same thing as the,
From what I can tell, research I've done, it looks like it, in effect, copies your restore petition from the latest install of your operating system. So if you click on it, you can go back to a clean.
it can do that if you're silly enough to let it do it. But anybody that's had their machine more than a week or two has done some stuff to it, and it's better to clone the drive, or better yet, not better yet, or image the drive. Now this just past week, I had trouble with my main machine. Something happened to it. Some fool went in there and did something, and that fool was probably me, because I'm the only one who lives in that house now. So
Munchkins.
anyway, I could not open any file. I go to Directory Opus and bring up a folder, and I try to click on it to open up the files. It says not responding. I go to Windows
Explorer.
Windows Explorer, same thing. I go to the C drive or the D drive or the E drive and click on a folder, and I get not responding. And it would stay that way for 20 minutes if I let it, and then it would give me a list of stuff in that folder, and as soon as I clicked on one of those things, not responding.
Wow.
So I went and took my Reflect startup disk or boot disk or whatever you want to call it, and I loaded it in my DVD tray. I rebooted my system. It booted onto that. I sent it over to my backup disk, which is a S drive, into the right folder for my desktop, because I back up all of my machines on that 3 terabyte drive, and I chose the latest time I backed up, which was about a week ago, and restored that image, and I was back up and running in a half hour. So they're good. You should have them, and you should make use of them, but they're worthless unless you back up, image, or clone. And I'm beginning to think, I've always been a clone man myself.
I have too.
I've always cloned everything, but for my purposes, I think I'm going to lean more toward image more frequently than I am cloning.
The C drive I've always cloned. The other drives,
Yes.
no need to clone, just to see.
That's when I restored from the image, I only restored the C drive
Yep.
this week. So everything else on the D and E drive, we're all still there.
Does that help, JB?
Well, I was just trying, I think it was PC Magazine had,
Hold the mic up.
I think it was PC Magazine had create a restore drive, Windows restore drive, and it said, from what I read, one of the options it gives you is you can in effect put it back, it makes a copy of the backup, the restore petition, and it puts you back to clean, uninstalls everything, just effect it will wipe out your all installed
Right.
drive.
And why in the world would anybody want to do that?
I don't.
Here, let me give you, the way I handle my machine is when I switched to Windows 10, I got Windows 10 installed, all the garbage off of it, a perfect brand new installation, and I made an image. Then I started loading my favorite files like Directory Opus and a bunch of other stuff, Unchecky, those types of things, and got that up and running perfectly, and I made an image of that. And so on down the line. Every few programs, maybe 4 or 5 programs I would install, I would make an image. And then I can delete other images behind that. So if I ever had a problem down the line, I would never go back to a clean install Microsoft Restore disk. But if that's your thing, then you don't even have to make that disk at all, because Windows will let you do that with their restore options. It's called Refresh My Machine. What refresh means is flush everything you had on it down the toilet and bring it back up to the day you bought it, without making any other drives. So you can do that with Windows 10, no problem.
Does that help?
Sort of. I've tried making, I've been playing around with the Macrium Reflex on their Restore. And for some reason, I have found, although they talk about you can make either a Linux disk or a PE disk.
That's what Joe was talking about.
But if you have Windows 10, it will not offer you the Linux.
Right. Do you remember that day we went through all the different versions and the reasons for that? Milt was asking.
Yeah. And the research problem I have, what I wanted to do is create one external hard drive with the Macrium Restore media on it, and
Hold the
the
mic
rest
up
of
closer.
the drive,
Hold it.
JB.
the rest of the drive to store the backups on it for different computers. But I found out, for one thing, in reading it, it will not work with, if you make it on a 64-bit, it won't work on a 32-bit.
Right. That's normal.
And,
You got to create a disk for that machine.
yeah.
Each machine has to have its own disk.
And the main reason for that, though, JB, is in Windows 32, all the drivers are 32-bit, okay? In Windows 64, as many as they can be are 64-bit, and the ones that can't be, they make sure they can work with 32-bit. Otherwise, it won't work with a 32-bit driver.
Does that help? JB?
Yeah, that's the conclusion I came to. But in this article I was reading in just yesterday, I think it was PC World had it, an article on it. They said you can either use that, or if you made a Windows disk image using Windows backup, you can restore from that disk image. But I'm trying to find out, does it have to be the Windows disk image, or can you use something else on a restored disk?
I don't know. I have never used the Windows disk image
No, me neither.
because I didn't feel comfortable doing it. I feel comfortable when I was using, Macrium,
I agree.
or even before that, Acronis, but I
agree.
never felt comfortable trying it with Windows because, I don't know, ulterior motive, whatever, I don't know. But now, if I was going to clean my machine off, I wouldn't feel bad about using that Microsoft refresh your PC thing, knowing it's going to wipe everything out.
Well, I don't want to have to, if I have problems, I don't want to have to go back and reinstall everything.
Exactly what you will have to do, though, if you use that.
Which means you've got to, and get it back to all the programs set up the way you want it, because that means you've got a lost day at least.
How much?
Go ahead.
At least, I said, a day.
JB, I think probably the easiest thing would be to use
Week,
the
at
Macrium.
least.
Yeah.
What do you think, Joe?
Oh, yeah, Macrium, I would,
And it's very explicit. It lays everything out for you. It
Yeah.
predefines your choices. It gives you an easy solution.
and like I say, on my backup drive, which I call the S drive for saving, I've got a folder for iVector, which is the machine that I use on my desktop. I got a folder for Asus, which is my laptop here. I got a folder for CoolMax, which is my computer on the other side of the room. And I got a folder for HTPC, which is my computer in my family room under my television set. And so I back up all of those to their own folder. And then if I want to restore any of them, man, I go right to that folder and pull out the latest image and restore that image, and I'm off and running. So I've got one drive that's dedicated to backups. And I can't do that if I clone everything, see? What I'm saying is I can get 4 machines backed up perfectly on one drive using images, but if I tried to clone it, not only would I have to have 4 hard drives, but I have to take the machine apart every time to put that new drive in.
Does that help?
Yeah.
So which way are you going to do it?
Well, what I'm playing with, I'm working with Acronis, not Acronis,
Macrium.
Macrium. and I've created a Macrium restore drive, restore media, rescue media they call it.
Yeah.
And I've created a system restore for this machine, which is the 32-bit machine. It's a 64-bit processor, but they preloaded it with Windows 32 home. Don't ask me why.
And that's Windows 10?
Windows 10, yeah.
Okay, you know you can, well,
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
I know what you're going for.
Yeah, I won't.
They probably loaded it because some of the things that they need the 32-bit or 64-bit drivers for, they aren't there.
yeah, you're right.
That would be my guess.
I have an unsolicited input.
Yes.
Once you become comfortable with using Macrium to make images of your C drive, I would recommend that you schedule making an image of your C drive for every Wednesday at 1 o'clock and never look back. So then if you ever do have a problem, you have a dozen or 20 or 50 or 100, depending on how many you saved, versions of your C drive sitting there, and you've got your recovery disk from Macrium, so you can boot to your recovery disk, go pick out the most recent or any other one you want image that you saved every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, and restore it, and you're up again. So once you're comfortable with Macrium making images, set it up to do it automatically. And if you're doing something else on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock, so it will never get in your way.
I think that's good advice. Now, if you got your laptop with you, that's not going to work.
That's right. I schedule mine at 2 o'clock Sunday morning every week.
That works.
I've never got my laptop with me at 2 o'clock in the morning. Not on Sunday morning.
Does that help, JB?
Yeah. With regard to the Windows Defender scan, is there any way to tell what the last scan made?
The date. Go to the date of the file.
What file?
The image file.
No, I'm not talking about an image.
Windows
but
Defender?
Windows Defender.
Oh. I don't know. I've never seen it. They'll do it every couple of days.
It should
Well,
keep,
from what I read in a Microsoft article, it says normally it will do it at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's set for a general scan at 3 o'clock in the morning, every morning. And if it misses it when you boot up, it will say you need to scan.
JB, hold the mic up to.
Apparently, it will not work if you turn your computer off or if it's in hibernate.
That makes sense.
But I don't know whether it works in sleep or not.
I don't see how it could.
Well, sleep is better than hibernate as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
But I don't use sleep on any of my machines.
It'd have to wake the computer up to do it.
As a matter of fact, anybody that uses hibernate on Windows 10 and thinks his machine's hibernating is smoking something they got off the wrong side of the street. Because Microsoft has gone in there and changed the meaning of the word hibernate. Some things that used to be hibernate was it would save all of your files that you got open right now. Let's say I got 5 files open. It would save them to the hard drive and then shut down. I mean, shut down. Now what it does is save those files and goes into a deeper sleep where some memory is still running, some background programs at Microsoft. That's why Microsoft can update your machine in the middle of the night without you knowing about it. The next day you turn it on, it says, wait, I'm updating files. And you say, where'd they come from? My machine's been off all night. No, it hasn't. The only way it's going to be off all night is if you pull a battery and pull the plug. Shut down only takes you down to a certain low level, which is still above some of these things that are running around on the board doing their thing. So the mice, remember, mice come out in the middle of the night. These Microsoft mice are running all the way through your machine at night.
So even though, JB, a couple of weeks ago, you asked how to get Hibernate back up there, we showed you, and there's a link on BuildOrBuy. Milt had sent us on how to do that. As Joe said, the definition has changed. Yeah. So Microsoft took that away for a reason.
That'll probably do it, yeah. Depends, I guess, I'm not sure what kind of, how yours is set up, but mine would do it on mine, except it's just too much trouble to get back there to turn that switch off.
You know, it's interesting
For
you
me.
mentioned that. I had a machine I shut down the other day getting ready for BuildOrBuy because I needed the keyboard and mouse to bring up here. I shut it off. 15 minutes later, it was rebooting.
You know, if you don't want to shut your machine off, but you don't want it to talk to Microsoft at night, then just go into your control panel and deactivate your network card. If your
Yeah.
network card's not passing any traffic one way or the other, then Microsoft's not going to mess with your machine.
See, that's part of that wake on LAN technology, and that's what was happening to mine.
Mm-hmm.
It was hitting on the network, and that's what turned the computer back on, even though I'd shut it down. Now, usually I leave a computer on once I turn it on until I turn it off, and then I turn the power or pull the plug. So the definition of what we're used to, the way things were, it's changed.
Do
Yes.
you have, on Windows 10, do you have the ability to turn off Wake on LAN?
That's a function you can go into the BIOS and change how that is activated, what that does.
And you don't think that would protect you from this midnight raid?
Well,
No, I don't think so. I don't think that would.
you can try it, but I don't know that for a fact. That'd
Well,
be one place you could go to and try it.
I hope never to try it. Like I say, I'm still on 7. I'm planning to stay that way. I'm sure someday they're going to make it so I can't. But
Well,
until that day,
The Wake on LAN technology, one is the network card. Other is from input devices like your keyboard or mouse, where if you touch a key or double click the mouse,
yeah.
it'll wake the computer back
Well,
up.
I use the keyboard, but I've never used Wake on LAN. That's how I started. I hit space bar and I'm up.
By default, it's set up to do its thing.
I guess
See-
that you just have to try it and see what it does shut down.
Go into the BIOS, you can change it. And if you change the BIOS setting, it changes the way Windows handles it. But like Joe said, as long as it's on there, Microsoft is changing the way things run. Like this machine a while ago, I needed to shut it down. It wanted to do some updates. I said, no, I don't want to do that. I don't have time for that. Very annoying, especially when you're trying to give a presentation to show something. So, do we solve any problems? Help a little bit? JB, is that something we need to go into sometime, is actually show creating rescue media?
I think that might be a good,
Think that might be a
I
good
think
idea?
it might be a good idea, particularly with Windows 10.
Okay.
And like it or not, your Windows 7 users are going to eventually have to go to 10.
Well, remember, we're talking about doing it with Macrium Reflect. Because I really think even though it's an extra application, it's a free application, but it's easy. It's very complete.
One thing I like about Macrium Reflex over, what's the other one, Easus?
Easiest to do.
Yeah, Easus to do, the free version, or even their paid version, you cannot set it up so it automatically verifies after making an image. Macrium Reflex, you can.
Well, I've got Macrium Reflect, both the free version and the paid version. And for most everything I do, the free version does what I want.
I've been looking at, as far as I can tell, the only real difference between the free and the paid versions are you can make incremental or forever incremental different here. But if you're just making complete images of your entire disk, it will do that on the free version.
Yeah,
Yes,
but-
it will. And if you go for the incremental, any kind of incremental, there are 2 types, then you have to be concerned about how much you keep, because some of the stuff is in some other file, not just the most recent one that you made. So
That's
if you
right.
make total images instead, then you can throw away any one you want, and it doesn't affect all the others.
If you go to Macrium Reflect, go ahead, Joe.
And Microsoft, in their file, I forget what they call it, but they automatically save your files, backup files that you make, Word, Excel, so on and so forth, in a hidden program that they don't want you looking at. But you can go back there, if you say you made some changes 2 weeks ago to a file, and rather than type the whole thing out, you want to make those changes, you can call that up, bring it in, make the changes, save it, and go on about your business. So you have the advantages of incremental backup without the problems of restoring incremental backup.
Now, if you want to know the differences of the different versions of Macrium Reflect, if you'll go to Macrium Reflect Free and scroll a little further down, up at the top is where you get the button to download it. Scroll a little further down, and you'll see a chart that shows you what the differences are. I'll zoom in on that so we can read that a little bit clearer. It comes in at incremental. Incremental, file and folder backup, file and folder masks, dynamic disk support, encryption, password protection. So if you need those capabilities, that would be the reason for the paid version. But the free version, I'm not doing incremental images. And I'm not doing file and folder backup. If I was, then I need the paid version. I used to do some of that kind of stuff with Macrium. I mean, with Acronis before I went to Macrium. But now that I'm using Macrium, I've cloned. Or I can do an image. And even in the free version, GPT support, Unified EFI support, it's all there. So, does that help?
The important thing is back up.
Yes.
Make sure you back up.
The important thing is do it.
Image or clone, but back up. And if you do back up, either image or clone, make sure you make that restore disk or rescue disk or whatever they want to call it.
Right. So what we'll do when we come back in a couple of weeks, we'll go through that rescue disk and show you the process, what you're getting. Because it will predefine, it will make the selections for you. Go with those suggestions. They're for a reason.
So anybody that comes in with a machine and wants help on it, we'll ask for their backup. If they don't back up, we'll hit them over the head.
Another thing to watch out for, though, is each time your Macrium updates and changes its version number, you probably need to make a new restore disk capacity. Because I've tried it, and one time I tried it, it wouldn't work. So
Need to make a new disk.
the old disk won't do a new restore, so
Simple enough.
watch your updates.
Any more questions? Folks, I want to thank you for being here today. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll knock off 5 minutes early. Y'all have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll see y'all in 2 weeks. Give me just a second.
You got it.